welcome to Let's Talk Nation. I'm your man, Rod Love, and with me tonight, as everybody normally knows, got none other than Doc Polite. Doc, slide yourself to the side a little bit.
Yeah, there I go. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can see you, but I see you probably want to move your block to the left or something.
Oh, it's my light.
No, not your light. I don't even see me.
Oh, I don't know why you don't see you.
I see me, but you move your image, move your block.
Oh, okay, I got you.
People get to see bad production tonight.
Yeah, all because of a little wire there.
Yeah, you're right, Doc. So where you want me to go to? Because
you good right where you are.
Mondo. All right.
Well, let's tell the people who
Doc,
what they watching.
Doc, look at yourself on the screen, brother.
I'm looking at myself on the screen, Rod. Oh, why am I on your screen like that?
Go ahead. Hey, to those of you who are watching, welcome to Let's Talk Nation. We had some technical glitches tonight, but we're glad that we got you with us. Hey, Doc, there's some things that are taking place. You and I both have gotten some phone calls, and man, what's late and breaking that's in the news is what's taking place over in the Middle East, man. Doc, you served in the military. What's your thoughts on that?
Oh man, I got so many.
Well, before you begin, let me say this first and foremost. Our thoughts and prayers are with the men and women who are serving this country, but also we do know that some American soldiers lost their life in this Middle East. And the word that's being used in this Middle East escalation that's taking place, and it's taking place with the United States and Israel. So I want to make sure that everybody knows, our hearts and prayers go to the family of those members that have lost their lives, but also we're going to be supportive of our troops that are participating in this escalation.
I wasn't in when the Middle East became the hot spot. I'm a relic of the Cold War, but I still had lots of friends who were on active duty that went to Iraq, both Iraqi wars and Afghanistan and all of that. So, I was well informed, not first person informed, but one of the things that we always talked about is the cultural difference in that part of the world versus our part of the world. And what does it mean? And we don't understand that that part of the world believes in clan loyalty. This is going back thousands and thousands and thousands of years, where the clan or the sect is the political power. You understand?
And you're speaking specifically, Doc, Iran. Okay, because I have to say this because I have some good friends that are from Lebanon, man, and man, I tell you, just the fellowship and how they've assimilated to the United States, man, they've fallen in love with this country. And some of the escalation that's taking place is taking place now. I see in Beirut and some other sections there. So when people are looking at what's taking place in Iran, this thing is much larger than we could ever imagine. And Doc, let me do this before we jump into it, because the general, as everybody can see, is not with us this evening. The general is on special assignment, but Doc and I are having the honor and the privilege to have a good friend of the show, but somebody who can go deep on some of these issues that we're talking about. And he is the founder and CEO of Aggression Management Company, and I'm talking about none other than John Burns. John Burns, welcome to Let's Talk Nation.
Well, thank you. It's an honor to be here with you and Doc.
Hey, how are you doing?
Well, good evening, my brother.
Yes, absolutely.
And John, so we're going to jump into a conversation, and I always defer to the Doc a lot because Doc has served in the military, and I've never asked you, John, have you served?
I was on the first nuclear-powered submarine,
wow.
the USS Nautilus. My friends say I still glow at night.
Hey, so this might be a conversation both of y'all are having. I've not served, but I tell you what, I appreciate you two's service, and thank you for your service.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, my fellow service brother. John, one of the things that I loved about being in the military, regardless of where you are in the world, and you find out somebody is a veteran, that's instantly your brother, and we have a kinship and a brotherhood that people who haven't served don't understand. I can find friends as soon as I say I'm ex-military. I got friends in the building. I don't care where I'm at in the world. So we certainly understand. And a lot of people misunderstand veterans. I don't want to segue off too much, but one of the things about us, we have a deep love for this country. And going to war and seeing things like this, it grieves many of us because we understand the cost. We know the personal cost. We know these men and women are away from their family. They could leave this earth, never touching their families again. And that's a heavy toll. When you're out there sleeping in the boonies, or you're on a transport, or you're on a sub, you don't know if you'll ever get back to port, if you'll ever come back to the barracks or to base.
So go ahead. I'm sorry, Doc. Go ahead. Finish.
So you're always dealing with the unknown, and my heart absolutely goes out to the men and women of the armed forces because I know they are willing to make the ultimate sacrifice.
Hey, Doc, and I'm gonna defer to John on this because Doc and I was having this conversation, and Doc was trying to bring me up to speed. But John, I got to tell you, I've been, we can debate, folk can have a conversation back and forth about the engagement. That's above my pay grade. But one of the things that I've been paying attention to is, man, the level of technology, precision, and I'm just fascinated by how the military is doing things that we can't even imagine.
To think in World War II, we were just destroying entire cities. And now we can literally put a rocket through the window of a particular building. Where that precise is just incredible. But I'd like to take it a step further because, Doc started to talk about this when we talked about different cultures and understanding those different cultures. In your case, the culture of a veteran versus people who are not veterans. But it's difficult for us as Westerners to understand that there's a culture over there that they will give up their life willingly and easily and in a terrorist format because of their belief system. And it's hard for Westerners to quite grasp that. There are an awful lot of people who believe that if I could just hug that person, they would be okay. But these are people who you might hug, but they'd stab you in the back so fast, make your head spin. And they're just hard for Westerners to grasp that fact.
Exactly. And I was saying that, John, before the show that the Iranian loyalty is more about clan and family,
yes,
and then national. Their lifestyle and their faith makes them commit themselves to the death to it. So. Yeah. We've just potentially created several million people who are willing to give their life for what if they call a fatwa or a jihad, then they're going to answer that because that's ingrained in their culture.
Hey, Doc, John, let me ask both of you: have either one of you ever been over into the Middle East?
I have not been, but my sister lived in Tehran. Before the Khomeini came in, when the Shah was still there, my brother-in-law worked for Grumman Aircraft. He was bringing the old F-16s and 15s or 14s were they, the Tomcats, in and teaching people how to fly them and providing the services. When Khomeini came in, he had coached a number of the kids, the Iranian kids, in the schools there, and they captured him. And he was going to be one of those people they held for how many days. But the kids recognized him as the coach, and they let him go. So he got out on the last plane.
Man.
So, I mean, close calls to say the least. But yes, my sister speaks Farsi. I mean, it's quite what she lived under and what is now there are so different. But these are intelligent people. They're well educated in many cases. Now, there's been 47 years of this horrific rule, but there's a lot of questions out there today in our media and all of that. And I think maybe if we just take a moment to address that, there's a lot of discussion about why are we there? Is it the right timing? And what is our purpose there? Is it regime change, in which may require boots on the ground, which nobody wants to see? And what I'm hearing, and what I think would be fascinating for us to discuss, is that what we have is sort of the rule that we're there because we want to eliminate the threat of the Irans, the missiles, the shipping that are controlling the streets of Hormuz, we want to get rid of all of that stuff. At that point, it's up to the Iranian people to rise up and take over that government. And that would not require boots on the ground. That would require the Iranian people coming up and taking over. But that requires leadership and a whole host of things that we're hoping are there. I believe this administration believes that the ingredients for that are there, but they're because of Congress and the requirements under the rules. They're there, according to their statement, is they're there to remove the threat from the threat to Americans, to American bases, to American allies, and to the homeland, if they were able to continue building these long-range missiles.
Well, to that end, and Doc, and I'm gonna tell you and John, I don't profess to have any level of expertise in this, but here's something that I don't understand. The response from Iran in terms of sending missiles, Saudi Arabia and other places that don't even have military, United States military bases. And so now you see, and I'm just watching this.
It's simple. It's simple. You want to know why they're doing it.
Yeah.
It's economics. If they can disrupt the oil flow and the production coming out of the Middle East from all of those countries, then that's going to drive oil prices and commodity prices through the roof. And they see it as a way to impact the U.S. Because
but Doc, one of the things that I see though is by doing that, they're also not building them any allies, because I saw a response that Saudi Arabia has issued a warning to them that.
Well, here's the thing. Iran is the strongest military in that region. If you want to get Iran is not Iraq. Let me put it that way. Iran is not Iraq. Okay. It's not going to posture. It has that, like John alluded to, it has an educated class of citizens that understand politics. They understand science. They understand their national identity. This is a country that has fought colonialism twice and overcame it. They are not about to be conquered. That terrifies Iranians, to be occupied or become something other than what they want to be. And they're not gonna easily acquiesce to anyone on that front. So that national pride, that tribal pride and that national pride will kick in.
John.
Yeah. I would build on that by saying that this whole thing of going and firing rockets into Oman and the other states there, backfired on Iran.
Yeah.
Because, they were thinking that they are going to intimidate these. But these countries, the Saudis and others, there have been purchasing American weapons, aircraft and other things, and missiles themselves for some time now. So they're fairly well armed. In fact, they actually shot down a couple of our own planes by mistake, friendly fire. The pilots were able to get out and were not harmed in the process, but we lost a couple of aircraft because of it. But they are armed now, and when what the Iranians didn't go, they weren't aiming their missiles to the military or to the bases. They aimed it at hotels, to the people. So that's what riled up these other countries, and now they're against Iran. So the whole, everyone was afraid it was going to be a regional thing against the U.S., but it's what it's turned out to be is a regional thing, yes, but against Iran.
But here's the thing: it's turning into a circular firing squad. It really is, and that's gonna impact coming out of that region. That's gonna impact economies all over the world. It's unavoidable.
From a layman's perspective, and again, I'll continue to say, because I want to qualify it, this is not in my wheelhouse, but I do feel the necessity that we need to have that conversation about what's taking place. A couple of things. One is what we've seen over in Iran, whereby they were basically killing protesters in their own country. And so you saw this humanitarian plea to them to stop, but then also now the conversation is about whether or not this took an act of Congress for authority to go there. Again, above my pay grade, but we have seen other presidents that have acted, and I don't know if it's proper to say executive order. John, you and Doc are more familiar with this than I am, but we have seen that in the past as well.
Well, right. We have the, as I explained, the War Powers Act. And essentially what that does, it's War Powers Act was enacted in 1973. And what it did was give the president the ability to take military action based on certain criteria. Now, the argument is that the Trump administration is not meeting that. One of it is the biggest one is imminent threat. And people are saying, no, it was no imminent threat. But we don't know what the intelligence community knows. You understand? So
yeah.
right now, it's debatable. Well, are they a month away from a nuclear weapon?
Well, let me add to what you were just speaking about, Doc. What we understand is they've been building missiles at a rate of about 100 a month. They now have several thousand. There is a tipping point where they can have enough missiles to do enough damage locally that it would force us to back away and do nothing. So there is that point of transition, and this administration, and then as well as the Israelis. And my understanding is that the Israelis, through their incredible intelligence, realized that Khomeini and approximately 40 of their top people were going to be at a certain place at a certain time on Saturday. And that's why they did what they did. Now that started the process. The Israelis are the ones out killing all the bad guys. The Americans are using our weapons to take down missiles, to take down the ships in that are trying to bog down the Straits of Hormuz, and et cetera, et cetera. So the Israelis said, we've got to go. And the Americans said, well, we can't have you do that and not us do ours. So that's how the whole thing happened when it happened.
Hey, Doc, John, I got to tell you to this because, again, I'm sitting back and I'm digesting this. Listening to YouTube, you guys can have your own military commentating show all by you because you're breaking it down. I mean, really, you two are breaking it down to where, we get people that are saying, hey, we're looking at late breaking news. And not as astute as to what's taking place and all the dynamics of it. But I will say this: we find ourselves, unfortunately, in these times that you're damn if you do and you're damn if you don't.
Sure.
Israel was going to proceed forward based on talking heads again. And so now, John, as you just mentioned, United States is in a situation whereby do we take out those missiles? So you two are really laying it down. And John, I got to tell you, you guys are laying this thing out from a military perspective that it's easy to follow. And thank you for that.
Can I just add one, get us to imagine for a moment what could happen here? Think about this in larger terms. Our greatest enemy, if you will, is China. And China is getting, well, it was taking 60, I've heard anywhere from 80 to 90% of the oil coming out of Venezuela. Not anymore. Now they're also taking something like 70 to 80% of the oil out of Iran. If we succeed here and we get a government that's in play that can work with us and be an ally of ours, and there's lots of reasons for that to happen, then we'll stop that as well. That is going to choke China significantly. As far as, oil is what makes things move.
So, John, choking China, and what people are going to be listening for in particular is based on China not having access to oil, what does it do for America? Does it bring the price of gas? Let's face it, does it bring the price of gas down?
Oh, yes. Look what happened in Venezuela. We're taking 50 million barrels in one ship, and it goes to us first. Okay. And then we sell it, and then some of it comes back to us, but a lot of it goes back to Venezuela, to the people of Venezuela.
Okay.
So because we have influence now over the people that are in control of Venezuela. So we hope to be able to do the same thing in Iran. But understand that, again, there's a lot of loose ends between here and regime change. Yeah. There are a lot of loose ends.
Yeah. And they're talking about this escalation may very well take place over the next 4 or 5 weeks, and who knows how long after that.
Well, John is doing something that military people we learn to do. We learn to look at what's on the board. Yes. Okay, what's in the sandbox? How will this movement impact this theater? Okay, so he's tying it together really well, because the main players are the U.S. and China, and they are both moving pieces around the board, basically fighting to get one-upmanship. And the problem is that some of the allies to China, their intentions are unknown, because sometimes they're courting China, then sometimes they're courting us. They're kind of two-faced, if you will, and so that presents the unknown. That presents a lot of unknown factors in this whole escalation, because we could escalate, and if we now become friends with Iran and we put that in there, it could cause another part of the board to become volatile against us.
Absolutely, and think about Iran now. Think about China as they're thinking about, do they really want to go and take over this other country? And the Americans and the Israelis are war worthy. This is something you'll appreciate, Doc. They're experienced in the world of war. Mm-hmm. It's not just theory for them, it's practical application. China has a lot of old people that have never had to go to war, not in a very long time. It's been 80 years since they were in war with anything. So we suddenly realize that, when they're thinking they may have more ships, they obviously have more people. But if they try to go in and take over Taiwan, number one, if it's Donald Trump at the time, they're going to say, wait a moment, this is a man who will actually go to war with us. So that's going to make them pause significantly.
Hey, we got Miss Cheryl Walker and Doc. Leave that up there for a second, and I'm gonna open this up to both of you. She was asking the question: can we comment on Cuba in the context of this conversation and the friendly takeover, and friendly takeover, if you would, narrative circulating from this administration? Doc, I'm gonna start with you, and then I'm gonna come back to John regarding that.
I don't think Cuba is the player that it once was. It's just not there. The danger that they pose is they become a willing conduit in our hemisphere for Russia, China, and those. They could be a gateway from which action is taken against the U.S. homeland. That's where we see the danger in Cuba and their alignment.
But also speak to the fact that Venezuela was fueling Cuba. And so now with that lifeline cut off, what takes place?
Oh, I'm convinced that the Cuban days are numbered.
Yeah.
That is just a matter of time. They've cut off all the oil from Cuba purposefully. And because of it, they have really very little, if any, revenue coming in. And because of that, eventually, they're going to get look what happened with Iran. The real went up, it was something like 300% inflation. You had to have something like 1.3 million real for $1. I mean, it was something crazy.
So John, when you say, and I want you and Doc to go into detail, and we're going to shift to something else that I know Ms. Cheryl Walker is going to be interested in. But before we shift, when you say Cuba's days are numbered, are you saying numbered from the perspective that it is moving closer to becoming an open democracy? Is that?
Well, I'll just mention, and then Doc can follow up on it. I believe that it'll become so intolerable, like it was in Iran. What happened that caused the people to rise? Finally, it was even when people were being shot, they still rose, and they rose because you couldn't buy a bottle of milk. You couldn't get a thing of milk. I mean, you couldn't get the staples that people need. So that is not only going to happen, it's already happening in Cuba.
Okay.
Yeah.
And people rise up. Right? Go ahead.
And remember last week where we had the incident with the Cubans firing on that boat. Well, it came out that this was a renegade plan by some Americans with ties to Cuba to go in and rescue their family because they were suffering under what's going on now. This economic inflation that's out of control. People can't they can't eat. Okay, they're having problems with energy, with power because they can't power anything.
Yeah.
So at one point, something's got to give. Jamaicans have a saying: "Pressure busts pipe."
Hey,
and when you put that pipe under pressure, something got to give. And so I think we will see a friendly takeover. I think we'll see the Cuban people finally rise up and demand some type of change. We don't know what it'll look like. We're hoping that is democracy toward us, but you can't judge that. Remember this, and I always tell people this: the Cuban dissidents that have been fighting for revolution in Cuba are dead. That generation is gone. Okay, there are no more Martel boat lift people alive. Not that many that can remember Cuba under Castro. So that's not the driving force in South Florida. They got stories that their grandpa and their grandma told them, but they have no firsthand experience. The Cuban population now in South Florida.
Understood. Hey, both of you, your international perspective, I got to tell you, it's on point, and I know people are just digesting that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to move us back. I'm going to bring this back local. I'm going to bring this back home. And we didn't even expect to go that in depth. And so that's, I got to commend you and Doc because y'all carried that. What I want to do is we're going to talk about property tax. I know Ms. Cheryl be interested in that. But before we go there, I'd be remiss if I didn't address, there's a lot of elections that are taking place. I'm not even going to get on the issue of all of the candidates that are running for Orange County positions. We'll come back to that at another time, because for District 7, you got approximately 12 candidates that's running for that seat. Wow. So we're going to address that at another time. But one election that's taking place this coming Tuesday is the city of Apopka.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I want to say this. You know, I have a special relationship with Apopka. You know, I had my business there for many, many years. Ran my studio from over in Apopka, and worked with the Apopka government from the time of John Land. So,
and Doc, tell me about John Land. I don't know if it's still in existence, but the longest serving mayor in the United States.
Yeah, he was. I think he took office in the 60s, I want to say.
I don't know, but
and he was Apopka. He was the face of Apopka for many, many years. But I think what we're seeing now is, my perception is, a lot of people that don't understand the culture and the history of Apopka now live in Apopka, and they feel like they all of a sudden know what's best for Apopka. And Apopka has always been a hometown feel. Yeah. When you go to Apopka, it has a real hometown feel.
Community kind of feel.
Yeah. And so the people there, the Nelson family, they had nurseries there. They've been a driving force there. And I know that the current mayor, he's the incumbent now, he bleeds and breathes Apopka blue.
And Doc, we're talking about Mayor Brian Nelson.
Yeah. And so what I want to remind Apopkans of is the fact that, you know, you could have some new people roll in and they could sell you a bag of poop, and they'll spray it with deodorant, but it's still a bag of poop.
You're right. You're right.
And they don't have a knowledge of where the city has come from, because a lot of things change in the years in Apopka, and much faster than even other municipalities within the region.
If you don't mind, let me throw a couple of things in here, because oftentimes, you know, we don't hear some of the things that we need to hear in time enough. When you look at Mayor Brian Nelson, when you talk about maintaining taxes being low, that's a real thing, and he has done that. When you look at the reserves of the city of Apopka, that's a real thing. And when we talk about factual things, but here's the other thing that, you know, and I'll go ahead as a matter of disclosure and transparency. I've known Mayor Brian Nelson from the time when he served in the House of Representatives. This guy is authentic. This guy has integrity. But the other thing, man, when you look at Apopka and you look at the leadership, you have an interim city manager. His background is from Parks and Rec. This guy has been close to the community from a service perspective. And so I'm starting off with the interim city manager. And again, I qualified by this guy got his start in Parks and Rec and has engaged the community. Then I also look at the chief of police. This is a woman who retired from the Orlando Police Department. And, you know, I want to allow these people to have their merit, because, you know, folk want to look at quotas. This ain't about, man, I tell you, the chief of police, man, I tell you, she's worth her weight in gold. But that's another thing. I'm going to go ahead. The director of finance and finance for the Department of City of Apopka, man, on a P's and Q's, got an economic development director. And when I say she's on a P's and Q's, but then you have the fire department, an individual who leads the fire department. So when I say all of these things, it is totally inclusive of what the city of Apopka looks like.
Let me say this, Rod, and a lot of people don't know this. Apopka is so amenable, and the leadership there cares so much that they actually try to help South Apopka, which is actually not in Apopka.
In the city.
In the city. They have no fiduciary or any governmental obligation to help those people. But yet, time and time, you have the loudmouths in that community who run around as if Apopka owes them something. And it doesn't. But yet and still, the city finds itself constantly trying to help those people. And a lot of municipalities would just ignore you. You're not in that city. You're in unincorporated.
What Doc is not saying is when you look at, and Doc, you're absolutely right. When you look at unincorporated, from a proximity standpoint, you just go a mile up the street, you go to City Hall. But really, when you look at the fact that the city of Apopka, $200 million budget versus Orange County that's on its way to an $8 billion budget, you don't go downtown in Orange County, Roslyn, to air your grievances. You go a mile up the road where they have no authority.
Exactly, and that's very misleading to people. And
I'm sorry, Doc. So, John, what do you know? I'm sorry, me and Doc, we can do this all day. What do you know about the city of Apopka?
Look, 40 years ago, when I first came to the Central Florida area, I was acquainted with Apopka as the fern capital of the world, and as it was, and it had been. And I got to know people like Bobby Hadaway. I don't know if you know Bobby, but his family owned a lot of that fern business.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And he helped me get my first, when I was in the real estate development business, he helped me get my first project in Altamont Springs. But his family came from Apopka, and I got to know, again, everything you're saying about Apopka seems true to me, is that it seems to be a very culturally family-based. You know, the old saying is that you take care of your money in a certain way, but if you're taking care of someone else's money, you take less care. You know, and the further away from your money it is, the less you care. Well, Apopka seems to be a place that seems to care.
You're right. You're right.
The money is being spent and how it's being spent. So,
hey, so John, Doc, let me ask both of you this. And I hadn't heard this in a long time, and I'm wondering why. Both of you, please give me your perspective on it. But do y'all remember, in spite of whatever your party affiliation was, you would hear politicians and individuals that wanted to be politicians, they would go on the stump and talk about small government and government being limited. But I haven't heard that anymore. And I mean, when we look at, as we're going to segue into property tax reform initiatives, I don't hear the conversations about limited government growth and things of that nature anymore. What are y'all thought about that?
Go ahead, John.
Okay, I'll start then. We're going to be talking about property taxes. And one of the things we're going to talk about in property taxes is the potential negative effect on the municipalities, right? And the counties. I submit to you, once again, the further we get away from our money, we start paying less attention. And instead of buying and building enormous monuments to ourselves, called stadiums and other types of things, maybe we'd be more cautious if we took some of that money away from the municipalities and the counties and made them stay better by their own budgets. We have to, and it's important that they do too.
John, stick a pin in that for a second. Doc, what's your thought?
This is good. Because, hey, John, off camera, I rail against this. This is my pet peeve. Governments are wasteful entities. They have no regard for taxpayers' money. They think that they can write endless checks, open checks, bonus checks, any kind of check that they want to write. And it's just not so. This is going to force them to have to make some decisions. Now we won't have a special dog park for dogs with amputations and stuff like that. You know, all this foolishness that goes on these amenities and giving the soccer team a third tier sport a $1 billion stadium. This is foolishness.
Hey, and on that, Doc, stick a pin in that. So I'm gonna lay some of this out for the both of you. Where we're at on the property tax reform update is the Florida House advanced a sweeping package legislatively referred property tax amendments, and this measure is referred to as HJR 203 that moved through the House during the session, and we have about 2 or 3 weeks left. March the 13th, the legislative session is supposed to conclude. It may go overtime, we don't know, but the Senate has not coalesced around the House's plan right now, so we do not know. But the thing that everybody needs to be aware of is that if the Senate and the House finds that middle ground along with the governor's office, this goes on the ballot for a November discussion, and it has to pass by 60% of the votes. So and some of the conversation, both of you have framed this up good, but here's the part that's being discussed. Critical services such as police, fire, those are supposed to be non-touchable in this process. But when you do the math on what municipalities are saying, if you do the math, we're going to have some shortfalls. Here's the danger that I see. And that's why I'm listening for our elected leaders as well as those that are running for office. I want to hear certain things. People are familiar with a whole bunch of other things that government it does and what government is supposed to do. But some of the things that are going to be the first to get cut, which is shameful, those are going to be some of the things that are in the area of human services. So how do you balance the growth of government with looking at how do you right size your budget? So John, I see you leaned up in your chair. Go ahead.
I love it. I love this topic because it works the way it is supposed to work. If the people are unhappy, they will likely not vote for you next time. So we get that mixture, that friction, if you will, between the politician and the community. And if it's that important, then the politician will come around and massage things. Maybe, to Doc's point, maybe they'll be more cautious about where they're spending the money, and they'll begin to realize that they're spending too much money over here. Maybe we can take some of the money from over here and place it over here. And hopefully the politicians won't come in and say, you can't lower the cost of police or fire and other things.
And they have that.
We don't need 80 libraries.
Well, yes, exactly.
We have to start thinking this is a modern. See, a lot of this stuff is legacy stuff. We're keeping legacy institutions propped up that don't deserve. What is it? Eat what you catch.
Yes,
and that's what they got to start doing. These things need to be self-funding. There should not be perpetual funding at the taxpayer's dime. We now have the internet. We don't need libraries.
Well,
okay,
in the presentation that I saw that broke it down for people to hear this, and some look at it as overly sophisticated, but 96, possibly more or less, % of local government budgets come from property tax.
Yeah,
you got sales tax on one hand.
Hey, it's an estimated annual deficit of $13.3 billion if we have the removal of this property tax. That's what local governments are facing. Of course, they don't want to lose that money.
Well, we live in a world of risk reward, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So they're going to have to, these politicians are going to have to look at the risk reward of what they're trying to do. I mean, I'm a believer, like the idea of tariffs. We spoke briefly last week about how before 1913, there were no income taxes.
Yep.
Because of tariffs and other types of income that we had, we didn't need the income tax. Can you imagine, just imagine in your minds, what it would be like for our economy if we could remove all taxes?
Yeah. Help me understand this. The other day, the mayor, Orange County mayor, and all the highfalutin folks got out there on this trail that now connects Lake County and Orange County. Do you know the price tag of it?
No idea.
$10 million. Who the hell makes a $10 million sidewalk? $10 million for a sidewalk.
Yeah.
It's those type of things that are just incredulous. How can you spend $10 million to make a sidewalk, a wide sidewalk, but it's still a sidewalk? You get what I'm saying? This is the kind of stuff that's in play because we'll have the money. And so these contractors are coming in and at the expense of taxpayers, just fleecing our governments. How come there's no real competitive bidding?
Hey Doc, so let me. I get what you're saying. Let me tell everybody what headlines the House proposal. It's a phase out of non-school property tax for homesteaded properties, and when we talk about homesteaded properties, you're looking at any other taxing district that taxes your property to generate revenue. The only thing that will be exempt is the school tax that, of course, that we, deduct for education. So you're looking across the board that all of these other taxes that are attached to property taxes. And here's another good example. You have approximately 9 municipalities in the state of Florida that has a children's trust that benefits from that. And I believe you got Hillsborough, Pinellas. These generate somewhere in the neighborhood of about $200 million a year. So there is going to be an impact. But what I'm saying is government needs not look at, not-for-profit organizations that provide human services. If balance it to the extent that as much as you cut externally, you cut internally as well.
And the question is whether the citizens are willing to do these things to make our world better. And I think back to World War II, when all the good beef was sent overseas because our soldiers needed all the vegetables, all the key stuff. So we learned how to eat things like cow's tongue. And we all had our own victory gardens, right? So, the American people are resilient people. We will overcome. We will do what we need to do to get us where we need to be, I believe.
My brother, you have some good faith, because I don't have that faith in our people right now, because we have become a self-centered, selfish culture in many ways. And it's sad, because you and I are from the generation where we go help our neighbor.
Yeah.
This is not it. These are the kind of people that their neighbor will be getting robbed. I'm just being real. And they'll come out on the porch, pull out their phone and put it on the gram and put it on TikTok. So we have a cultural and a moral chasm that, see, you're optimistic. I'm not trying to be negative, but John is optimistic that people will do the right thing. I'm looking at the fact of what people are doing right now. That tells me when push comes to shove, it's every man for himself. This is the attitude that we see. We see the cutthroat in culture. We see it. We see it on social media. Everybody's you can have a doctor come on social media with years of expertise and practice, and someone will attack his credibility, his knowledge, and his skill set, and other people will chime in.
And Doc, your point is well taken. John, what do you have to say to that?
Well, my point in response is, I believe there's a point where it begins to change. Where's that tipping point? And usually that's occurred because steel rubs against steel, and it forges something new, something stronger. Yeah. And when we are in a position, if we can make us spend less money and be more conscious about our money, then it tends to move across. I'm amazed at how many young people are going back to church. I'm amazed at how many people are thinking the family is important. Let's have a father and a mother and who then have children. I'm amazed at the way we're transitioning. And yes, there's a lot of everything you're saying is absolutely correct, Doc. But as the optimist, I'm also seeing some of these other changes coming. And maybe that's just steel against steel.
You're right. You're absolutely right, John. Hey, we're winding down. We got 5 minutes left. One of the things, Doc, and I'm going to say this in 30 seconds or less. Doc, I hear what you're saying, and I understand it totally and completely. John, on the other side of the coin, bless you, Doc, on the other side of the coin, I'm with you. But I'm going to tell both of you what drives me is that I have a 19-year-old and a 23-year-old, and I just can't be hopeless. And so, Doc, you're right. John, we got to figure out, or not just figure, I got to continue to have that inspiration. But beyond having that inspiration, I'm going to keep driving myself. Hey,
but listen, I'm not hopeless. I won't, because I want to clear that up. I'm being a realist. Remember my background. I deal with what's presented to me. So I know that where we are right now is not where we should be.
Correct.
And it's not that we can't go back, because we certainly can. We certainly could turn the corner at any moment. And it is my hope and prayer that as a society, we begin that transition back to wholesome, healthy things, family, faith, and caring about our neighbors. We need to be there.
Doc, I know you, and you got receipts to show that you're trying to guide people. Hey, we're down to 4 minutes. Hey, John, if you would, man, give us a minute of, and I'm gonna just call this, give us your thoughts, man, on, it could be on whatever you want it to be, but we talked about what's taking place in the Middle East. We've talked about property tax a little bit, but
what's important to you? What's in John's bucket list right now? What's on your list?
Bucket list?
Well, personally, I'm just trying to get my business back running as it's supposed to be. So that takes up so much of my life. I don't have a lot for the others, but I'm fascinated by what's going on in the world. And I'm particularly, we've been in such turmoil in our world today between Iran and all that's been going on in China and all these other things. For me to see a bit of a big picture where I see the role that oil is playing and fuel is playing in it, and the fact that not only could we have ultimately, like Sherry was asking, is Cuba next? Yes, I believe that Cuba is next. Iran, if we can get Iran, can you imagine all of these Middle Eastern countries joining the Abraham Accords? Man. And then when all of that happens and Russia's watching, North Korea is probably sending messages saying, "How are we doing there, Trump? we okay?" And China is right on the corner. So I'm very hopeful that we can live in a world of peace, ultimately. And I see a possible future for that.
Hey, and we're down. But hey, for everybody who's tuned in to Let's Talk Nation, John Burns is a guest co-host. You'll be seeing more of him. And John, I got to tell you, the General Attorney Greg Jackson, he's been on special assignment. And one of the things that he said, man, he said, John, when he comes on and calls into the show, John gives hell of a commentary. So, John, for your debut, Doc, I think you can co-sign this. John, he's passed.
Thank you very much. It's been an honor being with the two of you.
Thank you. We appreciate your presence, and you certainly added 2,000 points to the 20,000 at least
to the IQ, right?
You're right. Yeah. Hey Doc, your thoughts real quick. What's your bucket thoughts?
Again, my heart and my prayers go out to our servicemen and women who are the ones holding this down and representing our national interests and our national presence around the world. Just remember that by and large, that America is a grateful nation. We are gracious people, and it is not our intention to rule the world. I think we want it to be safer, and we certainly historically have acted in that capacity.
Hey, Doc, I'm not going to try to go behind you on that one, man. Our hearts and prayers go to the men and women that serve in this country. I'm going to close out because, once again, Mayor Brian Nelson, man, I tell you, he's been a great guy for the city of Apopka and its community. I just got to say, I'm plugging for Mayor Nelson. Keep up the great work. And to everybody that's tuned in, you don't have to go home.
But you got to get out of here.
Hey, thank you. Thanks a lot, John.